welcome to the match report, hosted, of course, by Free Midfield. And on the top, can you see it? There are actually three members of Free Midfield.
Yay!
Finally here, Darren. I'm gonna get you, coach. Don't worry, bro. But Darren finally joins us. How you doing, sir?
I'm all right, thank you.
Yeah, I finally got the house to yourself. No headphones, no headset, just speaking out loud.
Listen, it's difficult to record a podcast when your 2-year-old is in bed at the same time we film. So, yeah, but I'm happy to be on.
Thank you. Kojo, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's been a last weekend, you know. Me and you went to Talksport, which was beautiful. So, yeah, we're on a high since then. Can't go on the low. So, yeah, man, I'm feeling wonderful.
Feeling wonderful. We are joined, of course. You're pretty much an honorary member at this point, Steve. How you doing, sir?
It's getting that way, isn't it? You'd have to have a little icon for me. You know, I'll be joining the Free Midfield team, won't I? First of all, boys, well done for the Talksport thing. You get some credibility and some recognition, and it's been too long coming. So, on a personal level, I really enjoy coming on your show because of the way you guys are. So, long may it continue, and I hope you go back and do what you do because it's great and keep going. And anyone who does watch this retrospectively or now and hasn't subscribed, make sure you do. It is criminal that these guys don't have more subscriptions because it's arguably one of the best shows that I get invited onto, and that's why I keep saying yes. So thanks again for having me. Really, really appreciate the offer.
Thank you for the kind words, Steve. Daniel, can you top that, sir?
That's how you get asked back. If you do that, they'll ask you back, mate.
No, guys. Honestly, it's been a while since I've been on, but obviously, I always enjoy being on. You guys are all obviously seriously talented. You'll always hear me saying that, so that's why it's an honor to always be back and talk to you guys. So, yeah, I know you guys only call me when Villa are doing well, but
that's good though, right?
Would you rather they called you when you weren't?
No, I'm not messing. I'm playing.
I mean, it's an action-packed week. I mean, the most important would have been the North London derby. That got postponed, so might not mention that. I'll just mention it at the top. I think we would have won anyway, so it is what it is. But the Premier League games went on Saturday. The big game of the weekend, the title. It's not a title, a contender match anymore, man. It's pretty much City have won the league by now. But Manchester City won, Chelsea 0 goal, and it's a very special goal from Kevin De Bruyne. Kojo, was it an expected victory? Why was it so easy for Manchester City? It seemed that way.
They've got this aura about them where it seems ominous now, where they're going to games and you just they're gonna just come away with a victory at some point. I thought what Chelsea did wrong. I understand going to City, you don't really want to be too open. You want to go there with a structure. You want to be a bit compact. You want to counter at the right moments, but it seemed like they just looked very disjointed going forward. Pulisic was a non-factor in the game. Lukaku went missing another big game. Mason Mount not being selected as a starter confused me quite a bit as well. I thought he would have made quite an impact in this game. But yeah, whereas with City weren't absolutely fantastic, but they didn't need to be. They just needed a moment of magic, and they found it for Kevin De Bruyne. So it wasn't the most dominant victory. You can win a 1-0 game and dominate through statistics of possession and so on. They were the better side. But, I think Chelsea made life a bit easy for them. But that's not to take away from Kevin De Bruyne's moment of magic, because he decided to take the game by the scruff of his neck and applied a beautiful finish. I'm trying not to be too harsh on Kepa for his little step to the right before he jumped to the left, but it's those kind of things that stop you from making a save, because if he didn't make that step to the right, he probably would have got a hand onto KDB. Whether he would have saved it from going to the back of the net is another question for another day, but yeah, they deserve the win, man.
Daniel, we'll come to you. Why do you think Chelsea went there so defensive? I understand that Manchester City are this all-dominant team, but they've not been in the highest scoring form in recent weeks, especially considering the Arsenal defeat or the Arsenal victory. Despite it being 2-1, they didn't exactly play their best then. So why do you think Tuchel, knowing that he needed to grab some points here, went to and played quite defensively?
I don't know. It's a weird one, isn't it, with Chelsea? Because it's almost like they've kind of already conceded. It almost feels that they're not going to, go on and win the title now. And you know, I can completely understand that. It's almost like there's been quite a lot of distractions in the last few weeks. They're not quite in their groove. Yeah, I think with City, it's always a really difficult thing, isn't it? You don't quite know how you really want to set up against them. You don't quite know how Pep's gonna arrive and do his thing. But you know, certainly I would have liked to have seen them kind of throw a little bit more caution to the wind. But really, for me, the main thing Chelsea need to do is they need to get Lukaku scoring. Like that's the priority for me. And at the moment, I don't quite see where those goals are going to come from otherwise, because I get that they have the backups and they have Pulisic and Werner and all that, but at the moment that's the key thing for me, really, because that's supposed to be their guy that's leading them forward and coming in with the goals in the big games.
I mean, I think there was a post-match press conference, Darren, with Tuchel, where he kind of laid the blame on Lukaku. I mean, they say that they've quelled the beef and nothing's going on back there. They're all best of friends now. But surely, in the back of everybody's mind, it's not looking too good for that in terms of that situation.
So Lukaku's obviously not done himself many favors with that ridiculous outburst. But I will say this: you have a Chelsea team with a sort of like a makeshift back three. Malaga played. He's not in their starting 11. They played a little bit deeper, which, you know, you could actually twist to be something that they did to actually benefit Lukaku, because if you look at his time in Inter, they played deeper. They attacked the spaces as teams came onto them, because Lukaku has probably said this a million times, and people that talk about Lukaku have probably said this a million times, but the guy's not a target man. His job is not to have the ball stuck to him, lay it off, and get into the box to win headers. That's not his job. So because of that, I think Tuchel's comments were slightly harsh on him. That being said, he did kind of talk about the entire attacking unit before Lukaku, so it wasn't like he was properly singling him out. But I think this is the thing. Manchester City, it's a perfect storm for them. Chelsea have sort of waned in terms of their attacking prowess. Liverpool's best player is off in AFCON, and they've just gone on a bounce of 12 wins. Like, it's fantastic timing for them. It's just one of those things. Steve won't thank me, but this is just the best team in the league doing the things that the best team in the league does. I mean, a lot of their games recently, they've won 1-0. They've done that really annoying championship winning thing where they just do enough to win games over and over again. And once again, they're looking really formidable.
I mean, as the only person in this group here in the title race, Steve, it's over, right? It is over. They're just too good.
All you can do with Liverpool is win your games and hope for Man City to slip up, which at the moment is unlikely because you can't bet a perfection, as Darren said, sort of 36 points out of 36. Sometimes you have to hold your hands up and say, damn, that's too good, and it is. You know, the game at the weekend, I think Lukaku is a flop, if I'm honest with you. I've brokered this opinion before. Paid £97 million for a player that hasn't turned up in any of the big games. That is prime Lukaku. That's what he does. No, he's not a target man. No, he's not. What is he in the Premier League? He's a ball wide of the centre half and run him into the channels and try and do something, because right now, Chelsea are not, the point's been made already in the comments, Chelsea are not using fullbacks to put the ball into areas where he can hurt teams. But the reality is, when they had the fullbacks, he still wasn't getting into positions to hurt teams. He still wasn't scoring enough goals. This guy should be knocking in 25 goals a season for a £100 million price tag. He's not going to do it. The best thing that could happen for Chelsea and for Lukaku is to bring this nonsensical situation with the interview to an end and return him back to Italy, because Italian football is not English football. And we've seen this. We've seen it at Everton, we've seen it at Manchester United, and we're seeing the same thing at Chelsea now. Regards to the weekend's game, Manchester City just ask too many questions of you all of the time. It's really difficult. They create angles to get around the back of you and pull balls back into the box. And if anybody's got half an ounce of football knowledge, you know how difficult that is to defend. Chelsea have got a problem at the moment. Chelsea are one bad result away from being just another in the top 4 race. You know, if Liverpool win their game in hand, they go 5 points clear of Chelsea. You know, Chelsea are not looking like they're going to go and dominate and win a run of games. It is, for all intents and purposes, over. We've been in this position in 1920 when we won it, and teams around us are waiting for us to slip up. I don't think City will. So I think, you know, what Liverpool need to do is focus on the other 3 competitions they're in, particularly the UCL, because no one wants to play Liverpool over 2 legs in Europe when AFCON's done and our man Salah's back. He'll stretch anybody in Europe. No one wants to play Liverpool in the 2-legged affair anyway. So it's not wrong, and it's no disgrace to finish second in the league to a Manchester City side that is as good as this one. Let's not get that twisted. I'm not going to sit here and pretend they're not something that they are, because they're brilliant. And they've just got so many options. And when you think you've dealt with something, people are calling Jack Grealish a flop. He's not had a great season, but he's certainly not having a bad one. He's contributed to 36 points out of 36. I'm not sure that constitutes being a flop, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the smile there, Daniel. I imagine as a former fan favourite, the whole idea that Jack Grealish is a flop kind of, I don't know, amuses, or are you not happy with that type for him?
It's not, I'm not happy with it. The guy's like, you know, he's not exactly been at City for a very long time. He's had to completely change his game to suit Pep. And obviously because of that, you know, he's not going to be necessarily as part, you know, he's not going to have the same number of goal contributions he had at Villa, because Villa played absolutely through Jack Grealish. Grealish now for Man City, he's another fine player that fits into Pep's system, and he fits very, very well. And for me, he's been doing that. You know, he's had a couple of goals and a couple of assists this season. That's fine. His performances for me have been brilliant. He still creates the chances. So for me, Jack Grealish, to call him a flop, it's just funny. I mean, if you hear people call him that, but at the end of the day, like, what are we just supposed to pretend this is like when Pepe joined Arsenal or something? Is that what we're calling this? Do you know what I mean? It's the way, the behavior, the way that people have described Jack Grealish, you think that that's what that was.
I think there is a market.
Hold on, Darren.
All right,
I mean, if you look at Pepe's last season, I'm pretty sure he's going to get as more goals and assists than Jack Grealish this season, and Jack Grealish plays for a much better team. But anyway,
no, I'm talking about when he first joined.
I get you.
Can I just say?
Okay, go on, Darren. I'm triggered now. You triggered me.
We
have to pull him back. But this is the thing, though. Like, when you are playing, with no disrespect to Villa, at a club at the highest echelon, the highest echelons of football generally at the moment, the expectations about. Not only was he one of England's darling players in the Euros, he is their record signing for a team before Newcastle was easily the richest in the league. They not only did they sign him because he was who he is, but there was a lot of market drive behind him. Like, when I live in Manchester, Boohoo Man pictures of Grealish everywhere. It was we got the guy. So with that comes the guy pressures, and clearly he has not reached those levels. And when you look at what they already have, you ask yourself, well, how much better is he than Foden? How much better is he than Bernardo Silva? And then that's when you can really ask those questions of Grealish. And in my opinion, they're fair. What I do think has happened, I think Sancho and Grealish have joined the wrong clubs. Grealish thrives where there is no real structure, where it's off the cuff, you just do things yourself. Whereas Sancho needs that sort of template. This is how we're going to do this, how we're going to play. And I don't think Grealish has quite got to grips with the complicated nature of the way that Pep wants his teams to play.
I'm saying that what it is with Grealish is that he does need to get used to that Pep style of play, though. Like Pep brought Grealish in. He paid £100 million for Grealish, fully knowing this is a guy that picks up the ball, drives at the defenders, maybe does a little bit with, by himself. With Pep Guardiola, he's having to play that passing game a little bit, maybe lay it off, maybe, don't pick it up too deep. So obviously those goals and assists, they're going to take a little bit more time to come. But when it comes to the £100 million price tag for me, though, I don't think it matters. The City have that money.
Lukaku?
There we go.
Doesn't matter.
It's different, boys, because if you look at Manchester City as a team, if he sold De Bruyne tomorrow, he'd get 100 million quid for him. If he sold Bernardo Silva in form, he'd get 70, 80 million quid for him. He'd get 70 million quid for Rodri because it's a specialised position and he's good at it. All Jack Grealish is an expensive part of a jigsaw. So we didn't buy him to say he's going to come in, everyone's going to go, oh, wow, look at Jack Grealish. He's running Manchester City. He's brought him in to fit into his model and be another of a long list of expensive players. We have the problem with the price tag. Manchester City don't. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. We're going to move on from Manchester City and on to the more important race, the tougher race this season, the top 4 race. Arsenal did not play, so we will not comment on it, unless you guys want to tear into Arsenal for having that match postponed.
We do that all the time.
Actually, I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that. I'm going to ask that question. What did you think, Steve, of that whole situation? One COVID case in the whole.
So I'll touch on the idea that Liverpool took the piss a little bit with what they did, and I'll say this: we went to Chelsea without the manager, without Firmino, without Van Dijk, without certain other players. That was no part of a master plan to then pull out of a Carabao Cup semi-final 3 or 4 days later. We had a genuine issue with positive tests. Went through a lab. You don't WhatsApp somebody and say, guys, we're not going to be able to play tomorrow because we've just done a load of lateral flow tests and we don't think we've tested people with COVID. These have been sent to a lab and they've been ratified. There was an issue where they came back, and there's obviously clearly a problem with a batch or something. I'm not making excuses. The situation with Arsenal is a little bit more different. You have 83 players signed on Arsenal's books. 83. They played a youth team game the night before the North London derby. They loaned out players. They've got 3 or 4 players at AFCON. If the league really wanted to drive home the message, Arsenal will not have enough players. We're not really in a position to say we can't play the game. We had no goalkeeper coaches, no manager, no assistant manager, and up to 9 positive tests that came out of a lab. So at one stage, Loris Karius was going to have to come back and play in goal. That's how bad it was getting for Liverpool. We were all thinking about the Real Madrid game all over again. Think, Christ, let's hope this doesn't happen. So I think there needs to be more transparency and not just digging Arsenal out. Leicester have got questions to answer because the lads who went to the darts. Burnley sell their striker and if today asked for a postponement. That is absolutely mental. There needs to be much, much more transparency. There needs to be a mandate, a set of rules that needed to be abided by. Clearly, at the moment, clubs are using the opportunity to. Burnley, if they don't play, we'll have like 4 games in hand. So where does this stop? Where does this end? Where do we put some control in place?
Kojo, the rules. I feel like it's hard to blame Arsenal when the rules there, if you look at it, are so easily broken or bended.
Yeah.
Because if you don't ask, then you're not going to receive. And Arsenal asked to get the game postponed. And if the PFA or the Premier League didn't want to or wanted the game to carry on, they would have said so. So why shouldn't Arsenal be allowed to? Like
this is the thing. I think for fans, the North London derby is a game that everyone looks forward to at the end of the day. So it's one of those crazy games, full of drama, full of action, full of goals. And I think for the fan aspect, 4:30 on a Sunday to close the Premier League weekend, everyone's thinking, yeah, that's a game they want to watch. So obviously they were gutted on that aspect. Now, when it comes to the COVID thing, we said it with Jordan. There was the rule put in about if you have 13 first-team players available, then you fill the bench with younger players. So, for example, Leeds had a lot of players missing through injuries and COVID, so their bench was super young, super young. So people were saying, well, they would expect the same thing of Arsenal because the main thing was they're missing a whole lot of midfielders. But then people were saying, well, you sold or loaned out rather Maitland-Niles. So you had Lokonga left, and it would have been Charlie Patino, if you wanted to play him there, or if you wanted to bring Chamberlain back into a defensive midfield role that he hasn't played since, I think, Southampton or early Arsenal days anyway. Look, if first team players were available for Arsenal, people are just going to say, look, you should have played the game. That's what it is. But if the rules are that easily bended or manipulated, there's a loophole, Arsenal and Liverpool are not going to be the only teams to take advantage of this. And this is what people need to get used to. You'll get angry, but what team won't take advantage of it? What team won't take advantage of the situation and say to themselves, if we can fit in an extra maybe 3 or 4 days of rest to make our players come back a lot more fresher, we will do that. We can work on a few things in training and all that. So look, me personally, I was gutted because I just didn't get to see another fiery North London derby. But I wasn't particularly annoyed at Arsenal because I kind of just, it made sense as to why they did it. And they're not going to be the first or the last. Liverpool are not going to be the first or the last either. So
it makes sense that Arsenal done it. But what doesn't make sense is the fact that Philippe Coutinho scored against you guys to make it 2-2. When
I can tell you for free, that makes perfect sense because his record against De Gea was fantastic.
Yeah.
There you go. But I'm talking about the Manchester United versus Aston Villa game. Bruno Fernandes opened the scoring in the 6th minute, and then he got a second in the 67th. Jacob Ramsey, and as I said before, Philippe Coutinho got the equalizer. Now, when you went 2-0 down, Daniel, you got to be honest right now. You didn't think this was going to happen, did you?
No, of course not. It was a bit of a shame, really, because forgive me for saying this, Kojo, but Manchester United didn't play particularly well. But Villa have had this problem.
Forgive you for saying the truth?
There you go.
You
but
say that, but go on.
Sorry, carry on, Darren. No, you carry on, bro.
I was genuinely going to say, as a United fan myself, that is the best way United have played for a while, that first half. And it wasn't even that good, purely because you could kind of see that they were finally starting to understand a couple of things that they were being taught. They play like quite a slow bunch, and they obviously don't get on. But for the second goal, you saw the pressing finally. You saw the pressing finally at a high point. And I think that in itself is good because realistically, we've seen nothing really. Any pressure that United put teams can never really be sustained, and managed to do that for the first half. It wasn't great, but there was definitely some green shoots coming from that game, in my opinion.
I thought the press was there, like in the cup game as well, in the first half of the cup game, from United. It was there, but I don't think, obviously, Rashford and Greenwood were finishing opportunities that game. I can see where it's coming. Bruno Fernandes as well. I think he played a blinder, despite, obviously, United, as I say, not playing particularly well, really. I thought Bruno Fernandes had a brilliant game. But in terms of Villa, I wasn't expecting us to come back there. I didn't expect it because we've been doing this thing recently where we've been trying to shoehorn Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins up front together in this. And you'd think having 2 strikers creating loads of chances, having 2 England strikers, you'd be finishing chances. But they've both been kind of like missing their shooting boots in the last few weeks. What I will say is though, Luka Dean came in, played exceptionally. He was perfect for that Gerrard system. And at the very least, when Villa are losing games at the moment, you can see it's down to individual errors. You can see it's down to kind of sort of not finishing off chances, because the way that Villa are executing the Gerrard style of play, having the 2 fullbacks push up, having the 2 wingers inside supporting the striker, they've been doing it very well. I'm just glad that after the substitutions we were able to get a point out of it, because it almost feels like our performances haven't been rewarded in recent weeks.
Are you buying into the Gerrard style of play? Are you fully backing Steven Gerrard to go on and take you guys forward to where you want to be in the next few years?
Yeah, man, I'm all in on Steven Gerrard here. I'm all in on it. The fact that we're making those signings as well. Luka Dean came in perfect for that left back position we want. Coutinho came in. What you want, if you want is a winger that can kind of cut inside a little bit, who can play a little bit on the inside. Coutinho's perfect. I must admit, I was a little bit skeptical, but the way that the club has been talking about him, the way that he performed when he came on as a sub this week, I'm fully in on the Coutinho transfer as well. I mean, why wouldn't I be? in the first place. But the youngsters that are coming through as well, Carney Chukwuemeka, we saw him come on. He made a difference, set up the pass that set up the goal. Brilliant player. Jacob Ramsey for me as well. Biggest thing since Gerrard's come in. He was playing well under Dean Smith, but under Gerrard, you can tell, like, you know, you've got one of the best midfielders of the last 2 decades coming in and improving a youngster who's already, you know, on an upward trajectory. You know, that guy's going to be picked for England at some point.
How old is Jacob Ramsey? Because I know Chukwuemeka's like 17 or something, isn't he?
Yeah, Chukwuemeka's very young. He's 17. Ramsey's like 20.
Yeah, he and Conor Gallagher, the two young centre midfielders that are really like stepping up this season. Like Jacob Ramsey did fantastic in the 2 games against United.
Yeah, he's been brilliant as well. And you know, United have been linked with John McGinn. You've seen that all over the papers today. John McGinn, you know, didn't play against United. Jacob Ramsey lit it up.
Yeah.
So I'm not making it a versus thing, but you know, there's a real sort of high standard in that Villa midfield, which, you know, it's just missing a defensive midfielder really.
I think just going back to some of the points you made about the press, I thought both of United's goals came from Villa mistakes. The goalkeeper one we don't need to speak about. The goalkeeper shouldn't be giving the ball to the Aston Villa player who lost it in that position anyway for the second goal. And then what United do well is recognise the mistake in the first touch, smother it, and then the rest we know about. You know, I love you, Kojo, but the simple fact of the matter is, across the last 2 games, I think if you're looking at both the clubs, Aston Villa are a better football team than Manchester United at the moment. So I'm not surprised that you know they are. For me, they are. You know, I'm not
going to argue.
There's work to do at Manchester United at the moment. I'm not going to sit here and wax too lyrical about Gerrard. I could, obviously, because he's our favourite son. But the guy is a born winner. The guy is the most intense born winner that you'll ever see. So the moment he walked into the training ground, he would have said to those players, match me, match my intensity, match my desire to win. I don't know if you guys saw his interview after the game when he spoke about half-time and there were a few home truths. He's a born winner. He's an absolute born winner, and he will accept nothing else other than 110%. And my view is, the only way he doesn't go to Liverpool is if he relegates Aston Villa. That's how dead certain that is for me. I really do genuinely believe that is already kind of a done deal, with the exception of it being an absolute disaster class. It's not going to be, because as quite rightly pointed out by Dan, he's got hold of the young boy Ramsey, and he says, listen to what I tell you and I'll make you an international. And that's coming sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
Yeah, that's the only downside of the Gerrard managerialship of Villa. That's the only downside, is that at some point or another, it's going to be mid-season. Yeah, Liverpool will go on some mad run or something, and Gerrard just ups and leaves. That's the only downside to it. But the thing is, at the end of the day, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And for Gerrard to go to Liverpool, he has to have done a stellar job at Villa. So
it's about projects, isn't it? It's about projects. The project now is to take what Dean Smith was doing and take it to the next level. He's already started to do that. There'll come a point when Jurgen Klopp walks away. Hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully he signs an extension. But if he walks away, Gerrard, disaster class permitting, is an obvious candidate. And that won't happen mid-season because Klopp walks away at the end of 2024. So if that the summer of 2024 is, you know, but Aston Villa will have to think about succession planning. Who can they bring in that can carry on Gerrard's work? That's what you do when you're a side aspiring to grow your club and take yourself forward. You know, Gerrard is going to do great things for Aston Villa between now and whenever he moves on.
From one legendary midfielder to a legendary Portuguese midfielder, I go. He's creeping up there. No, Darren, you don't think Bruno Fernandes is creeping up to become a legendary?
It's really funny why he asked me that question, because they could attest to it. Since he was wearing a Sporting shirt, I didn't want anything to do with him. And there was a hard sell at the start when he was flying. But for me, my issues with Bruno Fernandes has been consistent in terms of his ridiculous shot locations and his ability to scream at other people for him overhitting simple passes. Just like he loses the ball quite often. And he, for me, is
goals,
not a
Darren.
match.
He put you in a winning position.
Yeah. Cool, that's true. But the thing is, you're asking me about my opinion on Bruno Fernandes generally. He isn't my favourite. I know it's not really popular position to have as a United fan, but he just isn't. We're talking about the game generally.
Can you not see from here he's going to kick on? Maybe Ronaldo takes a few games out of the team and then he flies. Ronaldo comes back in, he disappears. Ronaldo goes out, flies again. You know,
Ronaldo isn't
why
the
not try that?
problem. Ronaldo isn't the problem. He isn't the solution, but he isn't the problem. For me, the problem with Man United is that, firstly, they've got too many people in the team, in the 24-man squad. There's too many of them that want to play games 90 minutes and they're not going to get an opportunity. That creates an unhappy camp. Man United play like a team who don't like each other. If you look at I know this wasn't the Prem game, but if you look at the cup game with Villa, there was so many times where Rashford was through and he needed to square Greenwood, or Green was through and he needed to square Rashford, and he didn't even look. And it never looked like it was something that they even considered doing. And you hear all these talk about these unhappy players. 1 minute it's 11, 1 minute it's 17. And on top of my head, I could probably come up with 11 or 17 unhappy players at Man United. And then on top of that, you've got the idea of we've got this style of play that is temporary, but these players that cannot fit the style of play. And then on top of that, you've got, ideally, it's probably going to be Ten Hag or Pochettino. The same midfielders that can't do what Rangnick wants will not be able to do what Poch or Ten Hag want. And then constantly, we're in a situation where we've got players who clearly aren't good enough in the situation and they put themselves in. Like Fred and McTominay should not be starting for a Man United team that's doing well, nor should Dalot, nor should Wan-Bissaka, nor should Maguire. And then you're talking about half your team already off the bat. And then you've got Sancho, who again he needs order, he's not getting it. You've got Greenwood, who's sulking because Ronaldo's taken all his minutes as number 9. You've got Rashford, who isn't right. I'm not going to comment whether it's mentally or not. He just isn't right. He's played 2 seasons with an injury. Of course, he wasn't going to be amazing straight off the bat fully fit because that's probably changed his body somewhat. And then you have Matic, who's basically come back into the team because it's so bad in midfield. And Matic should be nowhere near a functioning Man United team. So the issues far go sort of made out just dropping 2 points. They'll drop more points. It's going to keep happening until, frankly, the squad is gutted. Because you've got high-profile players that don't want to be there. And I'm not talking about Martial, I'm talking about Cavani. But nobody wants to talk about that one. Rangnick has come out and said he's basically begged Cavani to stay. You've got all sorts of people basically poo-pooing Maguire's ability as captain of Man United. Whether you agree with it or not, it's there. Especially with all the rumours that Ronaldo being there has kind of made him in the show. But I'm sure Varane being there would have done the same, because how can Maguire, with 3 relegations in his belt, chat to Varane, who's won everything? So the squad balance just isn't there. And
Darren, question for you then. And I agree with everything you've just said as a Liverpool fan looking in at Manchester United and being objective. What you're talking about takes 2 or 3 summer transfer windows. And each time you buy a player and then you go look for the next one, you've got to be able to say to him, come and get involved with what we're doing. And right now, if I was a top-class player, I'd be saying to Manchester United, well, what are you doing? Because I can't see it. So it's going to be it's not an overnight process. It's going to be a long process. The big danger for Man United is that in the 2 or 3 years it takes to get them to where you want to be, where do the rest of the clubs get to? Because they'll move on and they'll progress and they'll evolve as well. So I've said this before, and I've said it on your show before. You are so reminiscent of Liverpool in the 90s, where there's an idea that you have a right to win things instead of going out and making the changes to do it. The difference is money drives football in such a way it's a bigger task for Manchester United than it ever was for Liverpool.
Yeah, I think we're at the point where the Premier League is at a bottleneck. And you're looking Arsenal, looking at Spurs, you're looking at West Ham. And if you're Man United, you're hoping you sort your shit out before Newcastle sort their shit out, because they can spend whatever they want. Especially considering Ashley as owner previously didn't spend a thing, so they can spend as much as they want for the next few windows anyway. And then you're thinking, Man United have got to rely on being Man United, but they've not been Man United for long enough for these new generation of footballers. So the way they've got to sell this project is by basically tearing the whole thing down and starting it again. We need
that comes with lots of risk.
Yeah, this is where they are. Realistically, Rangnick does not come into Manchester United if that isn't the plan, simply because he hasn't really managed consistently top flight over the last 10 years. He's managed a season and a half for Leipzig. He managed for Schalke about 10, 15 years ago. So as a standalone managerial CV, he doesn't warrant the job. But why he's there is so he can basically assess the people, go upstairs and tell Ten Hag and say, don't fancy him, he does not work hard enough, X player is not good enough, X player creates problems in the dressing room, so you can sort of get the shit out and start again, because that's the only way United are gonna sort this stuff out. This isn't gonna happen without sort of a major change. And I saw a comment earlier basically saying, why didn't Ralf make any more subs? Because realistically, the squad's not that good. And when you're in a situation where you've got to battle injuries and COVID and stuff like that, you really see how good your squad is. And this season has shown, above all else, the Man United squad is just not that good.
I think you need to realize though as well, though, that the whole Ole thing, it went wrong, right? It went wrong, but we're not too far after that. So United, coming in mid-season, with a managerial change, it's a difficult thing. But when it comes to the summer, if they bring in the right guy, I don't think, United are doomed or whatever. There is a lot of talent still in that squad. Realistically, you're like a defensive midfielder away from having an actually, very strong midfield. I think defense-wise, you've got the talent. And then you've got Greenwood and Santos still who can still come into their own, no?
I would say they may not have three bodies late in midfield for where they really want to be. Yeah. I would say realistically, you don't want Matic, Fred, or McTominay starting or really, really coming off the bench for a team at Man United. If you consider where the competition currently is at, and this is the problem, the teams above them aren't going to stand still, nor the teams below them. I could create a better midfield three from picking teams below where Man United are. You pull Basuma from Brighton, you pull I know he's on loan, but you pull Conor Gallagher from Crystal Palace, and McGinn from you guys, and you've got a better midfield three than the Matic, McTominay, and Fred, and you consider two of those have been mainstays in Man United's team at the minute. This is the thing, and then you've got the defence. You've got a right back who can't be paid, Wan-Bissaka, can't play with the ball, and you need to have the ball. And it's actually cost us in major competitions before, because the Villarreal game, Europa League final, Villarreal basically said he can have it, nobody else can, and we didn't create any choices. You've got a Luke Shaw who needs competition to perform, and we saw that in the Euros when the conversation on Chilwell was going up. Luke Shaw reminded everybody who he was in the Euros, but now he's going back to Manchester and has to face Telles, who he knows really isn't that much of an issue. He's fine. Also, just to address Big One's comment again, Lingard doesn't want to be here. Lingard does not want to be at Manchester United. So there's no point in saying, oh, but we got Lingard. And Lingard, who doesn't want to be here, is no use to anybody at all. Same way, Martial, who doesn't want to be there, is no use to anybody at all. Because the style of football that Rangnick demands, and Steve knows, because as a Liverpool fan with a very high pressing team, it requires 100% effort. You have to buy in. You have to buy in, and if you don't 100% buy in,
but above all else, it requires player profiling. You need to know what players can do a job in a certain position. And if Poch finds himself in the hot seat at Manchester United next season, whatever's left of the current squad will eat him alive, because they've got themselves into a really bad mindset at the moment, and they've got the power, and Poch will get destroyed at Manchester United.
This is why the squad needs to be gutted. Quite frankly, this squad needs to be gutted. That's the only way out for Man United.
The thing about managers coming in is people told me that they want Ten Hag, for example, or even me. I was saying I wanted Pochettino a long time ago, even way before PSG, even before he got sacked by Spurs. I was a Pochettino fan, but the thing is, look, if you go back through Man United managers, regardless, I'm not going to list them name for name. There's always been an issue with how players have been bought. If the manager wanted that player, if this, that, and the other. That's why this squad is so disjointed to this day. Now, Liverpool have started something strong with Klopp, and I'm sure when Klopp goes, the idea is they're going to bring in someone that makes the move seem seamless. It's going to be easy for them to move on to the next thing. Sort of like how Southampton used to do before they scrapped that whole fabled black box thing. All of that, So this is why when I'm asked about Man United, my expectations are not there anymore, because I just don't know what's going to happen. There is no plan. I don't see no plan. I don't see no structure. If I can quickly just talk on this Rangnick Martial thing, for me, it's just simple. Even before Rangnick came in, Martial wasn't playing anyway. Now, whatever the reason was, apparently he had a knee injury. His wife came on social media and said, no, that's not the truth. But we saw him come back up with struggling to train. So did he have an knee injury or not? I don't know. Then Rangnick comes in. Now it's he doesn't want to play. This guy says, I want to play. Quite frankly, look, both of them, the reason I'm not getting mad about it is because both of them are short-term at this point. Martial don't want to be here. He wants to kick. Rangnick is not a full-time manager at Manchester United Football Club. He's going to go upstairs afterwards. So whatever the manager wants to do with him after that, it doesn't matter. Martial's not going to stay. This guy's not going to be a long-term manager. So the anger even around that it is pointless at this point. But look, Man United are not better than a lot of teams this year. And when I call them Gucci Everton, people think I'm doing it for banter reasons. I'm not doing it for banter reasons. Man United have a lot more money than Everton, hence the Gucci, but they spend like Everton because they buy players that don't fit into places. And it doesn't make sense, and they start again. And that's why Everton has sacked another manager, because they have no plan there. And this is the whole thing. So look, Man United fans can get angry about Man United. It's going to be the same rant over and over. At this point, what do you expect? Why do you get mad over these things now? It is what it is, man. And what else Aston Villa, by the way? And shout out Coutinho, because that guy keeps haunting Man United with Liverpool, with Barcelona, and now he's done it with Aston Villa.
He never scored a league goal against Manchester United before the weekend.
Yeah, but he knocked us out in the Europa League, and then in the Champions League with Barcelona, he done us as well. So this is why I'm just like, he's done it again, because at this point, it's just like, he came off the bench, and Kale was saying top bins. And even though it wasn't particularly top bins, it still felt like top bins, because he came off the pitch with a goal and assist and changed the game just like that. And that's what it is with Man United. And shout out Gerrard, because it seems like what he likes to do is that sub, even though they went 2-0 down, it didn't seem like a reactionary sub. It looked like he's waiting for the right moment to bring him on. And he brought Coutinho on immediately, and you just saw a change in the way they were playing, and then boom, game.
Was he not trying to do that before Konsa got injured or something? He was trying to make the change prior to then the second goal goes in, and he stuck to his conviction and did it anyway. And you know, if you're an Aston Villa fan or a chairman or a Liverpool fan and you're looking at the future, those are the types of decisions that separate average managers from good managers, and it proved to be pivotal on the day, didn't it?
Dean Smith never used to make subs until it seemed like the game was gone. That was a big issue beforehand. You know, you've got these young players on the bench. You've got Carney Chukwuemeka on the bench. You know, why aren't you bringing them on? The game's gone anyway. These guys aren't playing for you. They're not pressing. Under Gerrard, he's not taking rubbish. He's not taking less than the absolute best from players. If you're not going to run, if you're not going to work for me, that's fine. I've got other players who can come in. I've got players who are in the youth academy that will take your place instead. That's fine. With Coutinho coming on for Gerrard, I just think it worked fantastically. I think the guys linking up with Ramsey incredibly already, like the two of them just playing together, like that's really exciting. And also, like, no offense to Matty Targett, he was Players Player of the Year. I think it was last year, or the Fans Player of the Year. I can't remember. had a very good season for Villa last year. It wasn't working in the Gerrard system because the guy just, can't put in the crosses in the same way that Luka Dean can. Luka Dean comes in. That left-hand side now for Villa, we talked about Grealish there last year. And now Villa have a strong, well-balanced left-hand side of talented players, which is, kind of led by Coutinho, but not held completely by him. I'd like to think that if Coutinho can keep fit, Villa can really push on this season. And then you're talking about sort of a £30 million buy. I think it's a £30 million option or something around that for a player who's sort of 29, 30.
Yeah,
that's when there'll be a decision to make. But if he's gonna perform well, if he's gonna make us a better team, then hey, why not? The owners have money.
Are you worried about
380 grand a week as well at Barcelona? So contract wise, that's a stretch, isn't it? But I'm sure he'd have to take a view. But it looked like he enjoyed himself. He was blowing after 5 minutes. He's clearly not match fit. But listen, I could sit here and run it back and tell you all about the goals he scored. The guy's got quality, and I'm sure if he had decisions in his career to make again, he might have done things differently. But he could never come back to Liverpool. The way he exited the club, it was never an option for him to come back to Liverpool. So I quite like Aston Villa, to be fair, even more so now Gerrard's gone there. So we'll be keeping more than a watchful eye on events down there. And Coutinho's a quality player, mate. He's a quality player.
Definitely. I'm excited for him. People think he's washed because of the seasons at Barcelona, but that club's been a bit of a mess for years anyway. And when he did go on loan to Bayern anyway, he did well. So
it's the knee injury. He's had quite a serious knee injury in the last 12 months, and one of his biggest strengths was his ability to go off either foot and change direction. And you do have physical changes when you have injuries like that. So it remains to be seen whether he's as effective off that leg.
We're gonna have to move on, I'm afraid. It was a nice chat. It was a good 15 to 20 minutes, that chat. So very interesting. It was a very interesting listen. Liverpool 3, Brentford 0, a fairly easy win. Unexpected considering that Brentford in a reverse fixture did actually give you guys a game, but then again they haven't exactly been playing the best football. Goals from Fabinho, Oxlade-Chamberlain, and Takumi Minamino. Now, Steve, 3-0 win, no Salah, no Mane. Kind of silencing a few critics there, are you not?
It'd be easy to say yes, but Brentford are not in great form at the moment. Listen, the game down there was the biggest at that time. Was the biggest game in their football history. Liverpool Football Club in the top flight. At that moment in time, that was Brentford's biggest game ever. So if you can't get your players, your manager, and your squad up for that, then you have to question why you're in the Premier League to start with. There's been some reality checks since then, no more so than in midweek last week when they got battered by, I think, Southampton 4-1. They're learning some harsh lessons at the moment. It wasn't a brilliant performance. Possession-wise, what you expect from Liverpool, because the back six is the back six, and it stood the test of time, and we know what it's about. First half, we were really lacking in being incisive, and it takes a strange goal for us to get one up, but that goal breaks Brentford's hearts and breaks their resilience, and then from then on, it's just a case of when the next one comes and it's Ox. And I feel sorry for Ox because I tweeted earlier, Ox's career is epitomised by this: scores a good goal, 5 minutes later picks up an injury and has to leave the pitch. That's Oxlade-Chamberlain's career in a microcosm for you. That's it. That's what his career has been about. I wish the guy could have 12 months injury-free to really build some momentum, because he's got pace, he can beat a man, he likes a shot from distance, he's clearly liked by the players around him, he's a popular guy. We just might never know how good Oxlade-Chamberlain could be, but he scores, and then Taku, after a very difficult midweek game against Arsenal, and on his birthday, gets a goal. So pleased for him. It's a win. It looks better than it is. But what it is it keeps us on the periphery of a, if you like, a title challenge should the opportunity present itself. You don't get anything in that game, and Manchester City beat Chelsea, you might as well give them the cup. It's now about consolidating that second place and in hope that Manchester City have a wobble, which is unlikely because the last 12 games they've done anything but have a wobble. So, yeah, it's a good result. On the face of it, it's a good result. but it really, really shows you how much we missed the front two. The two wide men up front really, really shows you how much we missed those guys.
Salah will be back soon because Egypt might get knocked out like next week. So
there you go.
Exactly. I mean, it's far too early for any team to be conceding the league title. But do you think that Liverpool should be, I don't know, focusing all their efforts on maybe a cup competition, probably the Champions League?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We spoke about this on the show last week. All the great Liverpool managers have got domestic cups to their name. Sir Alex Ferguson's got domestic cups to his name. Arsene Wenger's got domestic cups to their name. If you want to be revered as a genuine club legend, you can't just put your eggs in two baskets and say it's either league or Champions League or nothing else. If we go and win the Carabao Cup and and let's say, for instance, we're fortunate enough to win the FA Cup, well, there's two more trophies that go on that Champions wall that we as Liverpool fans love to see, because like Kojo does with and Darren do with their teams, we're successful over our history of our football club, and we don't want to change that. So
and Arsenal and Cahill, thank you very much.
it's been a while, man.
FA Cups is your thing. I'll give you that. Yeah. FA Cups is your thing.
It's called the Emirates FA Cup. Remember that, please.
Yeah. Quality. I can't hide from the fact that you guys are record. Are you the record winners of the FA Cup now?
They are. Yeah.
Kudos to you for that, because that's an achievement. But at the end of the day, that's what you've got to do. It's not just about the big two. You've got to pick up a few little other pots along the way and add to your roll of honours. But yeah, I want to see us go strong against Arsenal this week. I pretty much want to see the same team that played at the weekend play at Arsenal, because I think that team can get the job done, and then it's Chelsea at Wembley if we get through, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, let's go on to the final game of the top four race. West Ham 2, Leeds United 3. I'd like to start this off by addressing you two irons in the
Irons.
There you go.
Can I say something? Can I say something?
Go on.
I think not the last time I was on the pod, but the pod before that, I stated how difficult and good a job Bielsa was doing, considering the injuries of children on the bench from us.
I knew this was coming.
Well, here it is.
He's shameless considering his recent form, but he got the win on the weekend.
No, but the facts of the matter is, a couple more people are coming back, and they get better results. I mean, Forshaw is still playing in midfield. A man who had two and a bit years off injured. Calvin Phillips has barely played. He's had a serious injury. And everybody knows Leeds are a much better team with him in it. So I'm just saying, West Ham has proven this season to be one of the most difficult teams to play. They've finally started to manage to take that atmosphere and that sort of intimidation from Upton Park to Stratford. And like you do that, but they knocked City out of the cup. They actually beat City. They didn't just play well and get plaudits for it. They beat Chelsea. I think they took Liverpool close, didn't they?
Yeah, they beat Man United as well.
They beat Man United, but I mean, so we are talking about.
They beat one day. Who haven't they beat? Oh, anyway, Jack Harrison.
Did you hear me say?
I'm cutting you off, bro. I'm cutting you off. Jack Harrison scored a hat trick.
He lost to Rafa Benitez Everton, so it's all right.
Yeah, but they've done well. They've done well. It's a really good result, really key result at a really key time for them.
Yeah. Jack Harrison got the hat trick. His first in top flight of professional football. They had a goal disallowed as well. Which I don't think was offside.
It was offside.
What? Click, yeah, because Rodrigo was on the line and hit him.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you absolutely. Pueblo Fornals and Jared Bowen got the 2 goals for West Ham. I'm coming to you, Daniel.
Could I quickly ask something?
Go on then.
So, if you're Southgate and you see Jared Bowen and you see Marcus Rashford with the World Cup around the corner, it's really hard to ignore Jared Bowen right now, isn't it?
But if you go to Southgate, you take people that you trust, and it doesn't matter about their form. and that's all Gareth Southgate's ever done. So I don't agree with that. I think you should pick players on form. You'd pick Jared Bowen over Marcus Rashford any day of the week at the moment, and that's purely on where they're at psychologically in their form. But it won't happen. It just won't happen. It's not Gareth Southgate.
Do you not believe or understand that form is temporary and class is permanent? Rashford isn't in exactly the greatest of form, but he's still technically a much better player than Jared.
Bowen has been playing well for so long now that it's not always just having a purple patch. He's proven to people he's a very, very good player. I mean,
sorry, but it's because, like, for example, like I was saying that I don't think Rashford should have gone to the Euros just based on the fact that alone that I feel like he needed rest because he needed surgery upon surgery. But even in that year where he played with essentially half a body, he still scored quite a load of goals and got quite a lot of assists as well. So that's why I think someone like Southgate, I know his tournament football is a lot more shorter than a league season, considering other competitions as well. But I think he would look at it and say, just like what's Steve saying? You know, Bowen is in the better form, but he's going for the quality. But you know, I'm hoping he wouldn't do something like was it Sven-Gunnar Eriksson that took an informed championship field Walcott to the Euros or World Cup and then that kind of decision's stupid.
Well, playing devil's advocate with the Rashford thing is you can be out of the Euros or the World Cup in 3 group games. Do you have the time to wait for that guy to rediscover his form on the notion that
that's true.
Class is permanent, form is temporary?
But to go back at that point, do you see Jared Bowen taking that form from a West Ham to England and it instantly clicking? It might not click. It might just be that Jared Bowen is playing in the system.
No assurances are there. You just don't know.
The issue is that, like, isn't there? There's too many players in that England setup as well. Like, how are you supposed to get a consistent run of play to kind of get in there and, you know, immediately hit the ground running? You know what I mean? Like, I think you should be picking Bowen, but like I agree with Steve. Like, Gareth Southgate's going to choose who Gareth Southgate's going to choose. You know, he ignored Grealish for years, and then, you know, Phil Foden barely played in the Euros. So it's just whether or not he feels that Bowen fits in his system. Which, to be fair, you know, you've got a very direct player. You know, I don't think England play a very complex style of football. Bowen probably fits in quite well, but as Steve says, you just don't know.
It will be funny with Bowen because Bowen will be looked at as an option. Bowen will not start ahead of a Sterling, ahead of a Saka, ahead of a Grealish, ahead of a Foden.
But even as Rashford.
No, I know that. I was going to say that as well. Trust me, I know Rashford wouldn't start because Rashford doesn't deserve to start anyway. But I think even if Bowen was come in, he wouldn't be allowed to carry that form in because he wouldn't get the starts to bring the form into the game. So it's one of them ones, but he's not bad.
He's only got a £20 million release clause in his contract, Bowen.
Yeah, you guys have been looking at him for about 6 months now.
It's very, very possible that we'll move for him in the summer.
Wow.
So someone should put a bid in now, you know.
It's the thing now where English clubs are starting to do like the Spanish model of, because the Chris Wood one threw me off guard completely. That one, I had no idea that Chris Wood.
That's mental. I mean, yes, they need a striker. They need an out of number 9. And it's not the fact that they bought a number 9. It's the fact they paid £25 million for a guy that scored 3 goals.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there were a couple of reasons for the release clause thing. Firstly, the market's changed and the clubs are feeling the pinch from COVID. And now they need to be more readily able to sell their assets. Secondly, I don't think that the Wood transfer was completely in good faith to start off with.
Weaken their opponents, isn't it?
Yeah, and also I think with Trippier coming in, and I think they're going to be as direct as they humanly can be, and Wood wins a lot of headers. Yes. So we're gonna be seeing knock on to St. Maximin or header from a Trippier cross very, very frequently. Whether it goes in or not is another matter, but I can see that that's how they're going to navigate this situation.
From Matt Loughton to.
It's a question for you then. Is he worth 2.5 times more money than you would have paid to get Divock Origi out of Liverpool?
Hell no.
No, Divock Origi does not play for a relegation rival who you could really seriously punch her by taking one of their better players.
Would I be wrong to say though that, I mean, considering Divock Origi gets less minutes, he would be more productive?
Yes, But as I said,
He's a hard sell, though.
The transfer wasn't made in good faith. It wasn't made in good faith.
Oh,
This
no,
was
absolutely not,
to Burnley. As much as it was to buy Chris Wood, it was to piss off Burnley. And if they could have got Tarkowski's too, they would have done that as well. But they couldn't. So
you can liken this to when Chelsea suddenly got their big splurge of cash and they went and bought Damien Duff and Joe Cole and players like Ida Good Johnson and players like that. That was the first phase of ramping up the squad. Kieran Trippier was a decent signing and really won't go any further than that. So I don't think he's sort of in the top 3 or 4 English right backs currently right now. Chris Wood is really, really, really for me underwhelming. It's really not a signing. If I'm a Newcastle fan, I can gain a whole lot of energy. They should have been going out to look at Chelsea sign Winston Bogarde, who ended up being a football mercenary and sat in the reserves for the money. But when he played, he did a job. So there will be players out there at the moment that can answer Newcastle's current predicament for money until they get to a situation where they can assure they're in the Premier League and then they can go and buy players that fit what they want to do and let those guys leave. I'm dumbfounded about somebody who paid that kind of money for that player. I just don't understand it.
To that point, though, I agree with Darren saying it definitely wasn't in good faith. It completely hampers Burnley, and they're not going to get a lot of strikers, inform strikers for £20 million. Plus, if you look at Chris Wood's record, he does a job, and the job that they need him to do right now is to get them out of the relegation battle. And he scored, and I think recently he scored +10. I think he got 15 last season. So if he manages to kick on, he's going to do bits for Newcastle. The only problem for Newcastle is the fact that they've got what's his face, Eddie Howe in charge. That's the reason.
I kind of liken it to winning the lottery and going and buying a Ford Fiesta. That's how I kind of like it.
Right now, they need a Ford Fiesta. They can't. The dream of having Mbappe's at Newcastle isn't going to be a reality, especially not right now.
There's an in between. There's an in between there somewhere.
The thing is that I agree with Cahill as well. Like, all they've got to do is stay up. No one's coming in January to fight out of the relegation zone. You know, this is why you look at other clubs around them who, you know, maybe making signings that Newcastle fans would want. Like, you don't need to sign those Mbappes, as you say, immediately, because, you know, if you make it in the summer, make it out of and Chris Wood will score goals for them. Chris Wood will be that guy who, if you're like Brentford, if you're Villa as well, right, and you're playing against Newcastle, Chris Wood's just gonna, you know, grab them a goal out of nowhere, and you're gonna think, you know, I wish our defenders were a bit more physical, but you can't match that kind of physicality, which is what you need in a relegation battle. So Newcastle, stay up, push on in the summer. That's it.
Well, we should get together at the end of the season and see if Chris Wood's been a catalyst to keep Newcastle up, because I am far from convinced.
All I'm saying on that is that for Burnley in recent years, he has been that catalyst. So I don't see why, especially considering they bought Trippier, and they've got a left back as well, haven't they? They bought a left back.
They can defend.
No, they're trying to buy a left back, but I don't think it's going to happen so far.
So I imagine they're going.
Apparently, they've agreed a deal for Goossens, the German guy from Serie A.
Yeah,
I don't know how. Well, to be honest, I mean, he's more of a wing back for them, so it depends.
Wingers on left back, innit?
Yeah, I was saying, their system is very different to what Newcastle play under Eddie Howe. So it'll be interesting to see what they do anyway. But
back to the final point with the Burnley thing, they've got central defenders that can defend, and you can't say the same about Newcastle.
Facts.
Yeah. That is very, very true. We got West Ham and Leeds built up there, and I'm waiting for West Ham to get panned. So Daniel, please just reality check West Ham for me, please.
Oh, there's nothing to reality check, man. They came up there against Leeds United, and yeah, it was a match where they scored 2 goals. Sometimes Leeds United, they bring that fire, they bring that hashtag vibes, and you know, they can do. Do you know what I mean? So look, West Ham don't need to worry. Yeah, I guess conceding 3 goals isn't a great thing, but you know, it's not exactly inconsistency from a visit. You know, they won the last 3 games. They'll keep on they'll keep on doing enough. I don't know whether they're going to finish 4th, because they could do. I don't know. They had a good push last year. The only thing that they have or they lack is that experience of trying to get there. I guess it always seems that when there's a team knocking there, they just kind of falter at the last minute because Man United have been there before, because Tottenham Hotspur have been there before. But if Moyes can keep them playing as they're playing now, and keep Rice fit, obviously, he's a gargantuan for them. He'll keep on, leading that midfield, which I think is exceptional. And Antonio can keep on playing well, then West Ham will finish the season off strong. But yeah, look, 3-2 to Leeds. It is what it is. Jack Harrison had played a blinder, and sometimes you're going to lose those games, but that's fine.
There's a continuing thread throughout this episode, and what I'm hearing from it is disrespecting Arsenal, because you didn't mention Arsenal back then when you were talking about top four. Arsenal, Tottenham have done it, Man United have done it, Arsenal have done it as well. Where's this disrespect coming from?
Listen, stop being so easy to you nibble so much. It's so easy to get you. And also, as a long-term Newham resident as you have been, you should know that West Ham are having a fantastic time. It's literally never been so good in the Premier League era for West Ham. In the Premier League era,
they finished fifth a few seasons ago. West Ham.
Oh, wait, it wasn't. Was it part? It wasn't part.
They weren't. But when they finished fifth, how are they doing in Europe? They were in the knockout stage of a European competition.
He don't care,
They're having.
Keep them irons to yourselves. Keep them on the board. Iron in the shirts. I don't care about those bubbles. Those bubbles.
They're living their best lives right now. They're living their best lives down there.
If they finish in the European spot again,
they live away from me, innit? I don't want to hear this nonsense, especially when they go back to the relegation battle in a few seasons. But it is what it is.
The salt is ridiculous.
Salt, man. Salt Bay. That's what it is. But yeah, I think we should wrap it up there. It's been an excellent podcast.
Hold on. Remember, we were talking about Duncan Ferguson and them man there. So should we just?
You want to talk about him?
Woodison Park and this guy getting fired.
Oh, Rafa Benitez.
Oh God!
I didn't realize you should have showed me the notes beforehand. See, very unprofessional, Michael.
I apologize, man.
You've been a TalkSport and you don't know about professionalism. What's going
on? Well, we were doing professional at TalkSport, and then we were told that they should get the band together. They should get Duncan Ferguson at the helm, bring back Wayne Rooney, bring Tim Cahill out of nowhere. Also bring back Thomas Gravison because hey, I guess everyone's coming back. Call up South Africa and get Stephen Pienaar back into Merseyside as well. But yeah, I wanted to ask actually because I want to ask Steve. Your agent obviously has done a wonderful job at Woodison Park. I'm calling it Woodison. You asked me to call it Woodison. I'm calling it Woodison.
Well, it's made of wood. Why not?
There you go. No, on a serious note, did you when he went there? How did you think that was going to go out? Did you think it was just going to be how it's turned out, or do you think maybe he could galvanize them a little bit?
He would have had to win the Oxford boat race. He would have had to do £1 million on some of the quiz shows on TV, purely because he was never going to win, never ever going to win over the Everton faithful. It was always doomed. It's quite funny, really. He's the only man I know that can go to Everton and increase his legendary status at Liverpool at the same time. He's absolutely ruined them. He sold their best player to Aston Villa, and Aston Villa are made up with Lucas Digne. He signed a guy who's played like 12 minutes for Rangers for like 20 million quid, which is insane.
Mr. Patterson.
But the problem is they're looking at Roberto Martinez as a replacement. That is absolutely nuts. They're a strange bunch there. They really, they've got all the money. They've got loads of money. They've got all these ideas. It's like Kojo says, but they just got. I mean, let me give you two polar opposites that really show you Rafa Benitez and Everton. Rafa Benitez got Damari Gray for 1.7 million this season. Damari Gray's been a performer. His predecessor, Cahill, paid £45 million to Arsenal for Alex Iwobi. I'm not knocking Arsenal, but you guys were laughing all the way to the bank with that one, mate.
I'm still not.
There's £43 million difference between those two players. And if you ever wanted one thing that polarizes Everton Football Club, it is their recruitment, and that's the best example I can give you.
100%. 100%. Like, it seems like sometimes whoever's in charge of the transfers at Everton is kind of like looking at Wikipedia, looking at Football Manager stats, and just kind of like picking out players. Anwar El-Ghazi, for example, moving Dean over to Villa. Anwar El-Ghazi's barely played for Villa all season. How's that going to improve Everton? Like, they saw that he scored 10 goals in the Premier League last season and said, yeah, we'll have him. It's just a weird one for me. And every time they've made a big signing, every time they've put in loads of money to a guy, I've thought, you know what, fine. Everton, they're going to push on. They've got ambition. They should be an ambitious club because they are a great club. But it almost seems like they're just being thrown in there, and there's no real strategy. And I agree, no to Martinez either, because Martinez was there before. He never really pushed them further than they should have been, and he hasn't done the job that he should have done with Belgium either. The fact he hasn't won a tournament with them is criminal.
I will say this. Oh, sorry, Steve.
Sorry, I was going to say what they need to do is it's not so far-fetched to bring Wayne Rooney in, because they're in a very difficult position at the moment, and no manager they recruit from another team is going to give the fans what they want. So if you had a management team of Rooney and Ferguson, the fans will wait for those guys to get it right.
Well, what I was going to say is actually to the contrary of what you were going to say. I was going to say when teams are going through this period where they feel that they've lost their identity and sense of self, they hark back to previous eras. And sometimes you need an experienced head to deal with the situations. The thing here was that Everton picked the worst person available. Of course, it was never going to work. I don't know what Bashiri was thinking, even considering Benitez, because that shows a lack of understanding of the club he's bought, quite frankly. Rooney is doing a fantastic job in Derby, arguably the hardest job in the 92 clubs available to manage. But the thing is, Everton's footballing problems range so far that they need an experienced head to clear them out and start again. It is not the job for Rooney now. And the thing is, Rooney will get that job eventually if he carries on this trajectory. He could wait a couple of years when they're a little bit easier, when it's a little bit easier, when there's a little bit more clarity in their thinking, and then go for it. He doesn't need it now.
Devil's advocate to that. They're the lowest ebb at the moment. If you talk to Everton fans, it can't get any worse. So he's in a no-lose, same as Gerrard was when he went to Rangers for me. He's in a no-lose situation because Everton is so far off kilter, so far away from where they want to be. It won't take much to make improvements. And then the first thing you need to do, listen, I'm a Liverpool fan, but I remember going to Wembley with Everton fans and it was a City thing in 86 and 89. They've got such a loyal fan base that the second Wayne Rooney pulls on the manager's cap for Everton, they will buy into him in the same way that Aston Villa have bought into Steven Gerrard, because you can see a seasoned born winner. It might not work, but what have they got where they are now? Mourinho or someone like that would be a disaster for them. So where's the experience come from? They have nothing to lose by trying something different. Ancelotti and Benitez haven't worked, have they?
Ancelotti didn't work because Ancelotti was always looking over his shoulder because he knew Real Madrid were going to come calling again. If we're going to be frank, that was always the case of Ancelotti.
I always doubted he'd get them where they wanted to be anyway, purely because it was probably a stopgap for him, keeping him busy while the big jobs came. You're quite right.
Yeah. And to be honest, as a United fan, I want to see Wayne Rooney do really well. And I think he is on the verge of doing something incredible at Derby. Something that he could put on his CV and then go, right, who wants me afterwards? And there will be people queuing. Right now, Everton seems like a poison chalice. And he doesn't need to drink the poison because they will come calling. And he will go there if he wants to in a couple of years' time. He doesn't need it now. Everton need Rooney more than Rooney needs Everton right now. That's how I feel.
I was going to say, I think it will be more risk for Wayne Rooney than Everton, to be honest, because he's calm right now. Look, the Derby job, even if he doesn't save them, the fact that he's got them this close already to being safe is a fantastic job in itself. But Everton's been a person challenge for years. This is not just new. This is I call Man United Gucci Everton, so I guess they're TK Maxx Man United. That that club is another one that I don't have the answers for.
I'd just like to say before you continue, TK Maxx, they're okay. They're
I like TK Maxx.
Anyway,
I like TK Maxx, but they're not Gucci. You know what I'm saying? But no,
other shops are available.
Other shops are available.
Thank you. Other shops.
Primark, Peacocks, bring back Peacocks. I think Everton's just a big ass job, and quite frankly, as funny as it, me and Kale found it when people were saying Duncan Ferguson, I think that's the only option they have left for the rest of the season.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it.
Not exactly. Like, why would you want to go there? I personally don't understand it. I don't even understand why people would want to go Man United, but it's the fact that you can just manage a huge club. But after that, when you get there, it's trouble. So why would you want to go to Everton and have trouble with players that?
The only way I could see it is if you're Wayne Rooney, you look at it and you think you've got the England goalkeeper, you've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, you've got Decore, you've got Allen, you've got Damari Gray, you've got Andros Townsend, who is a good footballer. They're not the core of the squad is not that far away from being able to compete. It doesn't take massive quantum leaps to get. The problem with Everton this season is the atmosphere has been toxic because of the manager, and the moment your fans are not with you, you just fall apart.
I think they need. I think as you guys have been talking about, someone like a Duncan Ferguson or a Rooney's a difficult one because does he want to risk? Does he want to risk upsetting everybody? I know that sounds silly, but if it wasn't that situation, if it was any other situation, he could jump at the Everton job. And I think for me, again, I think it's no lose for him. But I think what he's doing at Derby, there's a lot of emotion there, which I can't see him kind of dipping from, basically. No one blames him if he does. But the thing with Everton is that they do have that squad, they do have that infrastructure. They are a top Premier League club. They've never been relegated. It is an attractive job for the right person. The problem with Benitez is he didn't have to do well at Everton. Where's the motivation? Benitez, you come into the Everton job. He's not done that well. Okay, that's fine. He's already got an established managerial career behind him. They need someone who's going to go in there and look at those players and go, you've got to work hard. You've got to buy into this philosophy. They've got to have some sort of a philosophy. Someone like a Steven Gerrard at Villa, that's what you need. You need someone who's going to stay there, someone who's willing to stay there. A young English manager or something. I don't know, but to say that Everton are an unattractive job, to say that no one would want to go there, I think it's. I think there's still a lot of time you could get there.
I guess for me, the reason why I say that is because, for example, you're talking about the infrastructure. They're trying to build a new stadium now, aren't they? So, that's even an attractive thing as well. New stadium comes new training facilities. Hopefully, you upgrade the youth facilities and then you try and progress as a club. But then, are you moving into a new stadium to build up more capacity and for more money coming in? Or are you using it as a catapult to say, okay, we've got a new stadium now. Now we need to think about how we're going to structure it because the next manager or next two managers, whoever comes in and gets fired next and whatever, there has to be a project that they need to believe in. I mean, Steve mentioned it earlier. Every club that's doing well right now, there's a project that when a player comes in, they hear it, they like it, and that's when they go to these teams that they succeed is because they believe and they buy into the project. Darren said the same thing. If you get the project right, you bring a manager and say, I'm giving you a amount of time, you are in charge of transfers, or if you want to bring in a director of football, see his track record, see if it works. There just needs to be a plan in place. And this is why I say that for me it's unattractive because Everton just seem like a club that have no plan whatsoever. And it's been like this for about 7-8 years now. In fact, since David Moyes left, essentially. So, I don't know. Me personally, I don't know who would want to go there, but they are a Premier League side. They are in a decent part of the country. And if they're trying to build a new stadium, maybe it's not the worst move, but for me, it's not attractive. And the fact that I'm questioning whether Wayne Rooney would want to do Derby and where they are right now to come to a Premier League team in Everton, for me, just makes me feel like they're not.
It's his boyhood club, isn't it? I know he's got the affiliation with Man United, but he's not getting the Man United job anytime soon. So it could be history could repeat itself. He could go to Everton, do a reasonably good job at Everton, turn it round, and then in the future, who knows?
It's I don't want to undersay what Wayne Rooney is on the verge of doing at the moment. He is on the verge of doing something that I have never seen. 21-point deduction. The club are in administration. He was saying how he has no control of players that leave. So he had 2 centre-backs leave this January. Big Jagielka was one of them who was starting.
Yeah.
He's basically playing Tom Lawrence up front, who's a midfielder. He's having to change the team constantly, hand out constant new debuts to new young players at Derby, and it's on the verge of genuinely being a fantastic domestic achievement. And for somebody who's only just really started doing it.
Is there not a case to say what he's doing at the moment, though, is capitalising on the situation and using adversity to get more out of players than ordinarily you would? And over a course of the next 20 games, is that sustainable? Because if he suddenly lost 5 in a row, all the euphoria around what Wayne Rooney goes disappears because they go back down to the bottom of the table.
The thing is, nobody expects Derby to survive. And nobody should, because that's insane. The fact that people are talking about it is enough. The fact that we're having this conversation and saying, oh, they might make it, is enough to show people that maybe there is more to it. And I don't want Wayne Rooney to look back and think, I could have made history in my first year as a manager, and I turned it down to join a basket case of a club. May it be my boyhood club. May it be my boyhood club. But I just feel like he could say, get Derby out of relegation, call it quits, resign, take a year off, let his stock rise, and he could have his pick of jobs in the high echelons of the Championship and in the lower to mid table of the Premier League. This is where he could be going. I don't want to see him throw that away.
Interesting.
Don't want to see him throw that away. That's a nice
statement.
It really was. It was quite positive. Well done, Darren. Top play. But we must end it there. We thank you guys for watching, listening. Thank you guys for joining us. But we'll need to get where they can find you. So, Steve, where can they find you?
On my social, wrong one there. Get me there. And last 6 weeks, I've been contributing to Red Men TV, which is a massive Liverpool channel. Hopefully that continues. So that's kind of where I've been focusing my efforts, that and that alone, really. And then the odd pod like this one. Again, pleasure to come on. Nice to sit, talk to you. Nice to meet you, Dan. And, give all of these guys a follow and give this channel a follow because good content from great guys.
Dan, where can they find you?
Yeah, nice to meet you as well, Steve. Obviously, always a massive pleasure to be on here. I'm on Twitter at Raza Journal, so Raza, as you can see over here, or you can just search for Daniel Raza on Twitter. You'll see more of what I do. Do a little bit of Villa podcasting here and there as well. But you can find me on match days for sure. But yeah, great to be on with you guys again. I really enjoyed it today. Really kind of dug into what's been going on in the Premier League. So there's a lot of stories this week. It's been a bit of a mad one. I think this season's going to keep on going crazy. So I'm down if Villa break top 4 at the end of the season for sure.
Most definitely. Coach, where can they find us?
Before that, you can find both their links in the bio to their Twitters and to Redmen and Holtecast Podcast as well. Find us here on YouTube, Free Me for Podcast. On the audios, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Through Midfield, and in terms of Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch, Through Midfield as well.
This has been another episode of the Match Report. Good night.
And I need to find the video. Bloody hell.